Hello. This is I'm Fanny Pittack. In the back you see Björn Lemke. We have prepared something very special because at Agile Testing Days it's very important that the stories are very entertaining. So a couple of years ago, oh my script, online. Okay, testing, right? So a couple of years ago I went to. I hope this. Yeah, so do you have something that the laptop doesn't fall off here? It seems not to work here. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So that was not the entertainment, just as a warning. So a couple of years ago, I went to the Lean Kanban conference in Hamburg, and when I was going there, I was a tester. I still am, just the job titles kind of changed. And when I was there, I was scanning through the program, and I was looking for something testing or QA related, and then I was asking around, so when you do Kanban, where's your testing? Oh, Fanny, that's a no-brainer for us. When we do Kanban, testing is already integrated. And then I thought, wow, I have seen the light. I want to work in teams like that. So then a couple of years ago, I started to work in a company which transformed from a more Scrumban fashion to a more tailored Kanban fashion, Agile style. And yeah, and I thought, wow, I will work with them in a very Kanban fashion, and we will do not worry about any QA or testing approaches. It will just work out naturally. So then I started, and I was, today I would say I was like in grief. So you probably know the 5 stages of grief. It's denial, it's anger, it's depression, it's bargaining, and then in the end it's accepting. So I was jumping around between denial, anger, bargaining, and I was working with my team on Kanban practices. So we were so good at limiting our work in progress. We were analyzing our flow. We were looking for any kind of waste and any kind of bottlenecks. We were so into the Kanban practices that I kind of lacked the focus on what's really the problem. And this is when I realized that I had to accept we are not lacking the best practices of Kanban, or we were not worrying about that we didn't do continuous integration correctly. It was about that we lacked a specific kind of knowledge, and that knowledge was testing. So I looked at my network and I was wondering what I could do. So I put my phone and ringed up Björn. Waiting. Björn?
Hello, Fanny. Hello.
Hi, Björn. I really think I need your help.
Well,
so
how can I help you?
I think you have to join us for a project. So the project is a little bit, let's say we are migrating, and we are migrating in a very international localization-heavy project. Do you have any experience by chance?
Well, yeah, luckily, within my last project, I was like testing a US product that got adjusted to an international market, especially with focus on a DE market. So it was quite a lot of internationalization and localization testing. So yeah, I think I have some knowledge. Can you tell me a little bit more?
Sure. So the project is about that we are migrating to a new platform, and the whole about this migrating is that we even have to migrate into 13 territories. So it's quite an interesting project, and especially from the team perspective, it's very challenging. So we are kind of really spending hours of fighting about estimation of stories, but it really feels wrong to just talk about the estimations of the story. Then also from the and this makes the team really pressured and doesn't really feel like they are working as a team. It really feels more like firefighters that work separately.
So, nice. Can you tell me a little bit more about the project and the product?
So the product itself, so it's like a marketplace where customers meet and they put their they put their business up front, and then they try to grow their businesses and helping each other in a more, it's like a network where our platform is the tool to enable our customers to grow their business.
So, well, from what you already told me, I can tell you I already know several issues you will have. You probably wouldn't even have thought about the problems. So, for example, what about date formats? Different countries show dates in a different way. Or number formats. Some countries use a dot, some countries use a comma as a decimal separator. This even has or relates to the exchange files. If you use CSV, you use a comma or a semicolon as a field separator. As well, the address formats. Some countries have the zip in front of a city, others have it behind it. Or as well, currencies and conversions. How do you get your conversion rates? Are they calculated correctly? Or what about time zones? In the international market, you have to care about them. As well, what about string lengths? Like, different languages are different length. So for difference in German and English, I know it's about 30%. So will your translated strings still fit the reserved screen real estate? And at all, does this translation fit? As usually, translation is done without the context of the app. So will the correctly translated words still fit in the context of the app? Or, with string construction, where do you place the number in it, depending on the grammar of the language, which differs? And as well, you will have issues with singular and plural terms. As well, what about payment methods? The accepted payment methods differ per country. Or what about functionality tailored to a specific country, as it's only needed in there? Maybe related to legal requirements in that country, as they differ as well. And legal requirements can be a big risk for our products. And last but not least, it is the cultural impact. For example, when do people expect the week to start? Is it Monday? Is it Sunday? What about meaning of colors? Or, what about registration? Which data is requested? There are so many impacts you have here. I think I know something, so I probably could help you.
Wow. So there was a lot of information, and so we have our localization stakeholders, and I think I just introduced them to you and also to the team, and then see how it goes. So a few days later, Björn was working in our team, and we were, very happy to have him. But nothing was better. Even he slowed the team down with all his questions and all his questioning on the story. And then whenever we deployed something, it broke. So then we wrote back and something else broke. And we thought, when we have Björn, so everything went smoothly, right? So
let's show how the board has developed.
So when we were working, so we had in our team, like, these are the board columns. And we used WIP limits in dev with 5, in code review with 7, in product owner review with 5, and in deployment with 2. And then when Björn joined, it was more like, because everything was...
Everything was stuck in the column PO review, which we used for testing as well. As I found the issue in almost every story. No story was traveling to be deployed. Everything got blocked. So we thought, well, we have to change things. But besides this process issue, we had some more issues. It mainly was the team. To me, it didn't feel like a team. It was more like a bunch of people working towards a shared goal. So communication was at a very low level. As well, it seems like the developers are mainly interested in their story. So have the code for my story shipped. I don't care for the stories of others. So meetings were tried to be reduced. There was hardly any conversation about the stories. And so it didn't feel right. So we had to change some things. What did we change? Well, first of all, we started changing our board as, yeah, we have no QA column in here. So how should we change it? Well, we tried or had a workshop about it, discussed various ways, and we finally came up with the idea, we move a PO review to check in production and place the QA in here. And at this place, I want to say a thank you to the team and the PO, as they gave a trust in me as a contracting tester that I gave permission to roll into production. So I think this is not natural that a newly team member gets the power to approve deployment to production. So in this place, a big thank you to the team.
What was the impact on our WIP limits?
Well, the WIP limit we let, but we created awareness and we created team spirit. As on many stories where I found issues, I started discussions in the team. So the other team members got involved in these discussions. As I just reached out to them, well, give us your impact or your idea about it. What do you think? Help us with this story. And by this, we could create a better team spirit. As well, we did some more changes, some more small steps. Like we made improvements to our test environment. As after a while, we realized that our testing environment differs too much from the production. So we got issues in the testing environment related to services not available in there, which were no issues in production at all. As well, we invested something in tools. Like we built a small tool that allowed anybody in the company, the translators, the PO, to deploy from the repository into their own environment. So with 2-3 clicks, everybody could deploy the latest build. And, well, as well, we had an impact on the product. So like with the PO approval in production, we reduced the additional step that somebody has to check after deployment into production. As well, we could make sure that, that the product was ready whenever it was shipped to a certain country. And yeah, last but not least, we made another change, and this was about our issue lifecycle, as not all bugs are equal. So we come up with a new lifecycle for our issues, where we classified the issues. When the issue was created, it was reviewed by the PO. Depending what it was about, sometimes the PO said, well, I need additional information, and passed it back to me, or the one who created the ticket. Then we had some issues. We said, no, we won't fix them. We live with them. Next one was, well, this is not an issue within our scope. It's an issue in a service we consume. So this issue must go to another team. So not in the way for us any longer. And then we come to interesting things for us. One was we transferred it into a story which was placed in the backlog like any other story. But the original story could travel on. So we know there is an issue in this story, but we can live with this issue right now. We can still go into production. The next one was, it was placed in the selected column. So to develop very soon, we can go live with this issue, but we should have a fix very, very soon. And last one was, yeah, it was placed into the fast lane, which means this is the next ticket to be done. The original story was blocked until the fix was available. So we said, no, we cannot go live with this issue. And so therefore we said, well, by classifying these bugs, this helps us to deliver the product in time when it is deployed for the customer or made available for the customer.
So the impact on the team was basically we had, when Björn joined, we had an average cycle time of 9 days. And after, once all the small, very small baby steps we had introduced, just by, it doesn't look big, just renaming a column, it was down to an average of 5 days of cycle time. And this was a huge success for the team to see faster feedback, to have fewer rollbacks once they deploy something to live, because they had the assurance and the confidence that the story they have worked on finally had the level of quality that we also want to deliver to our customers.
As well, they learned about testing. As when I approached them, or then they learned that if a story gets stuck, it will cost them additional time, so they better invest a little bit more time during development, during review, to have the story pass through the QA without any issue, so that the stories do not get blocked, or by just discussing with them what I tested and what their meaning is, or what their idea is, what the source could be of this issue. And besides the impact on the team, we had...
It was also, I just want to add that, especially with our localization specialists, sorry, it's a very complicated word, there was some kind of tension, misunderstandings, and through the tool chain, we delivered them. On top, there was also a much better communication with dependent teams and also with our localization team. And that also made a huge impact because there was less frustration around the teams. And meanwhile, it also reduced our knowledge silos, not even in that team, also in the whole department.
So what was the impact on the product? So yeah, we had better shipping quality, we had less rollbacks, we could deliver on time as we were on a tight schedule, and yeah, we had fewer rollbacks, faster feedback from the changes, and last but not least, we could fulfill the customer needs as the product was ready for them to use in their language, in the style they are used to from an application native to their country.
Yeah, and I think this is all what Agile is about, right? Delivering customer satisfaction and faster feedback cycles. So from the lessons learned, we would like to summarize so that your product is your channel to your users' needs. And if it's really not covering your users' needs, it's waste. And you should bring that forward in the software lifecycle as early as possible to analyze if this is really, really needed. And then use analytics, some kind of analytics, could be Google Analytics or other kind of tools to find, is this really helping our customers? Is this helping the platform forward? The other thing that I've learned is it's time, it always makes sense to step a little back and put yourself into a bird's eye view perspective. Analyze where are your bottlenecks, analyze what's holding you back to deliver. And tailor your approach to your teams and to your company needs. And so don't listen too much to, oh, you're doing Kanban wrong, but you're doing like a Scrumban way. Just don't listen to these inner voices or outer voices if you talk to people. If this fits to your team needs, then take this approach. And one of these approaches and big learning was also from estimation that we just stopped putting a number to the story, what could be the complexity, or what would be the a possible amount of work in weeks or days. We just stopped that. Instead, the team was educated in a more way, okay, so what is the acceptance criteria? What kind of outcome do you want to have? Which team are we dependent on? So they are more questioning around the story, so it's back to the content, instead just asking for a number.
So our learnings we had was that small investments in tools can make a big change. So just with a tool that allowed the PO and language specialist to deploy on their own, it was a simple web page that they could select the commit from the repository and deploy it with a click of a button. It made so much free time for the team that they could really concentrate on developing the stories instead of supporting language specialists to check the translations. And another thing was that the communication was the key to success. As soon as we started talking in the team about the stories, about the issues, about what we want to deliver, the team started to become much more like a team. So this was one of our key factors for success from my perspective. Make sure your team communicates with each other, with other teams in the company, with all the stakeholders, as it's always the communication which is causing the problems. And yeah, last but not least, we learned that the cultural background of a team is at least as important as the user's cultural background. As a lot of the perception that the team is dysfunctioning, that there are fights between the PO and the team within the team, a lot of that was based on the cultural background of the people. So it is like these strings here on the puppets. Our cultural background drives our behavior. We cannot control it. It's just like we grew up, like we live. And so we have to consider the cultural background of all the team members and bring them into one level so they know the cultural background of each other. That helps to understand each other better.
In the beginning, we also had some policies like 100% unit test coverage or a zero bug policy, as we might have put it here as a put your zero bug policy on the garbage. It just doesn't help your communication if you have someone, no, we have zero bug policy, we can't deploy if it's not all already. You don't learn from that. So put your zero bug policies and other policies beside and rather concentrate on your tool chain. So it's more important that you have a fast rollback mechanism instead of someone pointing out to a stupid policy which doesn't fit your needs. It's more important to deliver to the customer faster and roll back in times of errors instead of going with the stupid policy. And the last but not least is that your tester, with your accurate mindset, with this knowledge, is like a glue to your team, and this really helps to bring the team forward. And also, what I've experienced is with the knowledge sharing, it's more into this fast feedback, learning again, instead of finger pointing or focusing on the on bugs.
On policies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and one of my favorite novels is Karenina. So, and the first sentence is, all happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. So we kind of tailored also that one into all happy teams are alike. Each unhappy team is unhappy in its own way. So it's a Björn and Fanny, inspired by Leo Tolstoy.
Yeah, so this is that, well, what we showed you worked for us. It doesn't mean it will work for you, but maybe it can give you an inspiration to tailor your process to your needs, to your context, so you can deliver a good product, a high-quality product in a fast fashion.
So we want to thank you for
Thank
listening.
you.
And if you have any questions, please go ahead. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for your Vortrag.
Talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In which environment have you started to implement such process? Are you working with external companies and delivering projects, or are you working on in-house applications and sell by yourself? So, which kind of environment do you settle down this?
It's a company with 9 development teams, and we mainly do our software development in-house. And if we need special knowledge, then we take contractors on board as well.
So I was a contractor in an internal team.
So you build software for your own company?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in-house. So he was first. Sorry.
So you talked about cultural background, and that it's important to get to know the team members' cultural background. What do you do to do that?
Yeah.
Do you discuss one team member's background in 1 week, or what are the measures?
So it's first of all, it's very easy to just admit, okay, we are all different because we come from different cultures, and the important thing is how to overcome this. So, and this is the first thing is, okay, so maybe he's not acting because in that way because he wants to push something forward. It's just his way of communication. It's first accepting that, and the second one is to move away from this, okay, we are all different, and focus on the content. So what is it? What is our common purpose in that team? What is our goal? More move the conversation to goal and purpose-oriented instead of, oh, you're different and your communication style is weird, or you're starting submarines or something like that. That doesn't help. It's really more about shape a common purpose. What do you want to achieve?
And another point here is not to blame for the behavior. Try to openly talk how you perceive the behavior, and try to get a reflection if your perception of the behavior is wrong. As what someone sends out is not necessarily what is received. So, but if I reflect what I receive, the sender can again reflect back to me if this is what he actually meant, if this was his intention or not. So for me, it was like I took quiet moments, like walking back from lunch with only one person of the team. So, hey, you're sorry, I'm new to the team and I have this perception, there's something wrong. I think your communication style is quite harsh tone, almost sounds like fights. This is, for me, it sounds a little scary as well. I know from the PO that she is scared as well. Why do we have this perception? Can you give explanations? So try to not blame the people. Try to give them the opportunity to explain you what it is, what drives their behavior. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. I was wondering about the planning bit, because you said we got rid of estimates.
Yeah.
So how did you guys solve that problem? Because obviously the business is still sort of wants to grasp when something is done and when they can release it to whatever country you're in.
So so there were several approaches on different levels, and the first one was to look at our cycle time and to really use this as a forecast. So it's very likely that in the beginning we had a average cycle time of each user stories around 9 days. It's very likely if you want that functionality and the other story we just did had the same complexity level, that we will not deliver that within 5 days because it took us 9 days because of this and this and this and this. And then we started to invest in automation, and this is where we gained the trust from the product owner, where she was putting that to priority as well. So if we invest in automation, then, and in the tool chain that Björn was mentioning, then we can shorten our cycle time and invest more on the actual feature development instead of manual rollback and feature analysis, why something broke.
Then you do measure complexity of stories to at least compare them to each other.
So they compare, they ask about it. Is this similar to? But we didn't really put a number to it anymore.
So it was more of a gut feeling of complexity when really discussing it and coming up with a number. Yeah.
Yeah. And also help with the communication. Oh, no more question? Okay, sorry.
One more.
And we will be here today, so if you have more questions.
And didn't you have prepared something on our slides as well?
No, but we will change our slides. So the slide deck you've seen here, we'll change it slightly. We'll add one more slide with the points I've pointed out, the topics I pointed out in regards to localization, internationalization. We'll add them just as a list of bullet points.
The first thought I had when I saw your columns was
Yep.
the QA was missing. And where was it done before?
Well, it was developers testing their own code. It was partly done in the code review, and it was done by the PO in the PO review. There was no actual testing. There was no tester in the team. It was a team only consisting of developers and a PO. So therefore, there was the missing testing knowledge.
The rest of the questions maybe after.
Yeah, we will be around later as well, or see you at the party later. So, thank you very much.
Thank
Please
you.